Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Mrs. Webb. Now, we'll have to interrupt here again. I think it's a good time to tell you that the Cartwright interests have begun to build a bank in Grover's Corners. Had to go all the way to Vermont to get the marbles, sorry to say. And I've asked a friend of mine about what to put in the cornerstone for people to dig up 1,000 years from now. Of course, they're putting in the New York Times, the Grover's Corners Sentinel. And we're kind of interested in this because some scientific fellows have found a way of painting this reading matter with a sort of silicate glue so it'll keep 1,000 to 2,000 years. And they're putting in the Bible and the Constitution of the United States and a copy of William Shakespeare's plays. But what do you think, folks? What do you think? You know, Babylon once had 1 to 2 million people, and all we know is the names of the kings and the wheat contracts and the contracts for selling slaves. Yet every night, those families sat down to dinner, and the fathers came home from work, and the smoke went up the chimney, same as here, and in ancient Greece and Rome. All we can piece together is from the joking poems and the comedies they wrote for the theater. So I'm going to have a copy of this play put in, so people 1,000 years from now will know a few simple facts about us, more than the Treaty of Versailles or the Lindbergh flight. So 1,000 years from now, this is how we were in the provinces north of New York at the beginning of the 20th century, in our growing up, in our marrying, in our living, and in our dying.
Blessed be the time.
Now, a good deal of time's gone by. It's evening. You can hear choir practice going on in the Congregational Church. The children are at home doing their schoolwork, and the day is running down like a tired clock.
Now remember, music came in the world to make fun.
Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in.
Get it out of your head that music's only good when it slaps. You leave the loudness to the Methodists. You could even beat them even if you wanted to. Now again, tenor. Emily.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't work at all. Moonlight's so terrible.
Emily, did you get the answer to the third problem?
Which?
The third.
Why, yes, George, it's the easiest of them all.
Oh, well, I don't see it. Could you maybe give me a hint?
I'll tell you one thing. The answer's in yards.
In yards? How do you mean?
In square yards.
In square yards?
Yes, George, don't you see?
Yeah.
In square yards of wallpaper.
Wallpaper. Thanks, Emily.
You're welcome. My, isn't Moonlight terrible? And choir practice is going on. I think if you hold your breath, you can hear the train all the way to Contucook. Hear it?
Well, what do you know?
Guess I better get back to work. Good night, George.
Good night, Emily, and thanks.
Now before I forget it, how many of you will be able to come in Tuesday afternoon and sing at Fred Hersey's wedding? Sure. That'll be fine. That'll be right nice. Now we'll do the same music we did for Jane Coveridge's last month. We'll do Art Thou Weary, Art Thou Languid. It's a question, ladies and gentlemen. Make it talk.
Oh, George, can you come down a minute?
Yes, Paul.
Make yourself comfortable, George. I'll only keep you a minute. George, how old are you?
I'm 16, almost 17.
And what do you want to do when school's over?
Why, you know, I want to be a farmer on Uncle Luke's farm.
And you'll be willing, will you, to get up early and milk and feed the stock? And you'll be able to hoe and hay all day?
Sure I will. Why do you ask?
Well, George, when I was in my office the other day, I heard the strangest noise. And you know what that noise was? It was your mother chopping wood. Now you see your mother getting up early and cooking meals all day long, washing and ironing, and she still has to go out in the backyard and chop wood. I suppose she just got tired of asking you and just decided it was easier to do it herself. And you eat her meals and put on the clothes she keeps nice for you. And you run off and play baseball like she's some hired girl to keep around the house, but that we don't like very much. Well, I know all I had to do was bring your attention to it. Here's a handkerchief, son. And George, I've decided to raise your spending money 25 cents a week. Not, of course, for cutting wood for your mother, because that's a present you give to her. But because you're getting older, and I'm sure there's lots of things you must find to do with it.
Thanks, Pa.
Let's see, tomorrow's your payday. You can count on it. Rebecca will probably think she ought to have more too. Wonder where your mother's off to. Choir practice never was this late before.
It's only 8:30, Pa.
I don't know why she's in that old choir anyway. She hasn't got more voice than an old crow. Tramping around the streets at this hour of the night. Well, it's about time you're tired, don't you think?
Yes, Pa.
Good night, Martha. Good night, Mr. Foster. I'll tell Mr. Webb. I know he'll want to put it in the paper.
My, it's late.
Good night, Irma.
Myrtle Webb, would you look at the moon? Potato weather for sure.
Naturally. I don't want to say a word about it in front of those others, but truly, it's the worst scandal ever was in this town.
What?
Simon Stimson.
Now, Luella.
But, Julia, to have the organist of the church drink and drunk year after year, you know he was drunk tonight.
Now, Luella, we all know about Mr. Stimson, and we all know about the troubles he's been through. And Dr. Ferguson knows it too. And if Dr. Ferguson keeps him on there in his job, the only thing the rest of us can do is just not to notice it.
Not to notice it, it's getting worse.
No, it isn't, Luella. It's getting better. I've been in that choir practice twice as long as you have, and it doesn't happen anywhere near so often. My, I hate to go to bed on a night like this, but I better hurry. Children will be up till all hours. Good night, Luella.
Can you get home safe, Luella?
Of course I can. It's as bright as day. I can see Mr. Stone scowling through the window now. You'd think we'd been to a dance with him, so carry on.
Well, we had a real good time.
You're late enough.
Why, Frank, it ain't any later than usual.
And you stopping at the corner to gossip with a bunch of hens?
Now, Frank, don't be grouchy. Come and smell the heliotrope in the moonlight. Isn't that wonderful? What did you do all the time I was away?
Oh, I read, as usual. What were the girls gossiping about tonight?
Well, believe me, Frank, there is something to gossip about.
Simon Stimson far gone, was he?
Worst I've ever seen him. How'll that end, Frank? Dr. Ferguson can't forgive him forever.
I guess I know more about Simon Stimson's affairs than anybody in this town. Some people just aren't made for small town life. I don't know how that'll end, but there's not much we can do but just to let it play out. Come, get him.
No, not yet, Frank. I'm worried about you.
What are you worried about?
I think it's my duty to make plans for you to get a real rest and change. And if I get that legacy, well, I'm going to insist on it.
Well, there's no sense in going over that again.
Frank, you're just unreasonable.
Come, get in. I gave George a piece of my mind tonight. I reckon you'll have your wood chopped for a while anyway. No, start getting upstairs.
Oh dear, there's always so many things to pick up, seems like. You know, Frank, Mrs. Fairchild locks her front door every night. All those people up that part of town do.
They're all getting set aside. That's the trouble with them. They've got nothing fit to burgle with, and everybody knows it.
Get out, Rebecca. There's only room for one at this window. You always spoil everything.
Well, let me just look a minute.
Use your own window.
I tried, but there's no moon there. George, you know what I think? I think the moon's getting nearer and nearer, and there'll be a big explosion.
Rebecca, you don't know anything. If the moon were getting nearer and nearer, the guys who stay up all night on their telescopes would tell us about it, and it'd be all in the newspaper.
George, is the moon shining on North America, Canada, and half the whole world?
Well, it probably is.
9:30. Most of the lights are out in town. No, there's Constable Warren trying a few doors on Main Street. And there's Mr. Webb coming back after putting his newspaper to bed.
Good evening, Bill.
Evening, Mr. Webb.
Quite a moon.
Yep.
All quiet tonight?
Simon Stimson's been rolling around a bit. Just saw his wife moving out to hunt for him, so I looked the other way. There he is now.
Good evening, Simon. Town settled down for the night. Good evening, yes. Town settled down for the night pretty well. We should probably do the same. Can I walk a ways with you? Good night.
I don't know how that's going to end, Mr. Webb.
Well, he's seen a peck of trouble, one thing after another. Bill, if you see my boy smoking cigarettes, will you give him a word? He thinks a lot of you, Bill.
I don't think he smokes no cigarettes, Mr. Webb. Leastways, not more than 2 or 3 a year.
Well, I hope not. Good night, Bill.
Good night, Mr. Webb.
Who's that up there? Is that you, Myrtle?
No, it's me, Papa.
Why are you in bed?
I don't know. The moonlight's so wonderful. And the smell of Mrs. Gibbs' heliotrope. Smell it?
Yes. Haven't any troubles in your mind, Emily?
Troubles, Papa. No.
Well, enjoy yourself. Don't let your mother catch you. Good night, Emily.
Good night, Papa.
I never told you about that letter Jane Crawford got from her minister when she was sick. He wrote her a letter and the address was like this. It said, Jane Crawford, Crawford Farms, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America.
What's funny about that?
Well, listen, it's not finished. United States of America, continent of North America, Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. And that's what it said on the envelope.
Well, what do you know?
And the postman delivered it just the same.
Well, what do you know?
That's the end of the first act, friends.
Gone by. Yes, the sun has come up over 1,000 times. Summers and winters have cracked the mountains a little bit more, and the rains have brought down some of the dirt. Some babies that weren't even born yet have begun speaking regular sentences. And some people who thought they were right young and spry have noticed that they can't bound up a flight of stairs like they used to, without their heart fluttering a little bit. All that can happen in 1,000 days. Some young people fell in love and got married. And the mountains cracked away from fractions of an inch, and millions of gallons of water went by the mill. Most everyone in the world gets married. You know what I mean? In our town, there's hardly any exceptions. Most everyone in the world climbs into their graves married. The first act was called daily life. This act is called love and marriage. There's another act coming after this. I reckon you can guess what that's about.